I still remember when I first moved into my house. It was a bit older and had definitely seen better days. The paint was chipping off the walls in some rooms and it desperately needed a new roof. But it also had character. When I compare it to newer houses in the neighborhood, I think mine is better looking because of it. Our neighborhood has a homeowners association, and if your home is in violation of any of their rules, they will send you a letter. They are sticklers about making sure everyone's grass is cut and homes are maintained. They even made someone take down an American flag because it was flying from a pole that wasn't straight. The problem is that not everyone in our neighborhood agrees with all the HOA rules. There was one neighbor who never seemed to follow them, but the HOA always seemed to let it slide for him. His name was Harry and he lived in the house at the end of our street. He didn't mow his lawn like the rest of us. Instead, he kept it long and even used part of it as a vegetable garden. He didn't care about keeping up appearances either. His house had peeling paint, broken window frames and a sagging porch. None of that bothered the HOA until today. That's why today was so strange. I was eating lunch in my backyard when suddenly the sound of shattering glass echoed through the neighborhood. Then I heard another noise that sent chills down my spine. It was the sound of gunshots. I immediately ran into my garage and peeked out the window to see what was going on. What I saw made my blood run cold. Harry's front door had been kicked open and several men in black tactical gear were running into his house with guns raised. I couldn't believe my eyes. Was this a raid? What did Harry do to warrant this kind of attention? My mind raced with questions, but there were no answers to be found. All I could do was watch as the situation unfolded before me. I dialed 911 and the operator calmly asked me what the problem was. "There's a raid happening at the end of the street," I said, my voice shaking. "Men with guns just kicked in the front door." The operator's tone remained steady. "Okay ma'am, I've got a unit on the way. Can you stay on the line with me?" I agreed and I waited for the police to arrive. As I waited, I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease wash over me. Who were these men with guns? What were they doing at Harry's house? And most importantly, was everyone okay? These questions swirled around my head, but there were no answers to be found. I could only watch and wait. The commotion outside my window continued for what felt like an eternity. The shouts of officers, the clatter of footsteps and the rumble of voices all blended together in a cacophony of sound that made it impossible to decipher what was really happening. Just when I thought it couldn't get any more chaotic, the front door of Harry's house burst open and a man ran out. He was shirtless and had a wild look in his eyes. He looked around frantically before diving to the ground and making a dash for cover behind a bush. As I watched, completely mesmerized, another man emerged from the house. He was tall and muscular with a shaved head and a thick beard. He, too, seemed panicked as he ran out of the house and disappeared around the corner. I couldn't help but wonder where they were going and why they were in such a hurry. As if on cue, the commotion outside died down and a heavy silence descended upon the neighborhood. It was a stark contrast to the chaos that had unfolded just moments before. The only sound that could be heard was the distant wail of police sirens. Suddenly, the quiet was shattered by the click of police car doors opening and closing. A group of officers emerged, their faces grim and determined. They fanned out across the front yard, their eyes scanning every nook and cranny. One of the officers approached my house and knocked on the door. I opened it cautiously and he introduced himself as Officer Miller. "Ma'am, I'm here to ask you some questions about what you saw," he said, his voice firm but polite. I invited him in and he sat down at my kitchen table. I told him everything I'd seen and heard, my voice still shaking from the adrenaline rush. "We're still trying to figure out what happened here," he said, his eyes fixed on the table. "It seems like a domestic situation gone wrong. We're looking for 2 men. Do you know who they are?" I shook my head. "Only one of them, Harry, he lives here. But I don't know anything else about him or the other guy." As the days passed, the mystery surrounding the raid only grew. Rumors spread like wildfire through the neighborhood, each more outlandish than the last. Some said Harry was involved in something shady, while others claimed he had done something terrible. But the truth remained elusive, hidden behind closed doors and whispered conversations. Then, as suddenly as it had happened, the story broke. Headlines blared from newspapers across the city and the internet buzzed with speculation. According to the police, it turned out that Harry wasn't involved in any illegal activities, nor was he a target of the raid. Instead, it was the other man who had a warrant out for his arrest. Seems like the police received an anonymous tip that he was staying at Harry's house. It all started when the Homeowners Association received a complaint about a broken window at Harry's house. When the association president went to investigate, she saw a man through the window who she believed was the one responsible for breaking it. She called the police and they set up surveillance. They eventually received a tip that the suspect was wanted for a crime in a neighboring town. So that's why they decided to raid Harry's house. But unfortunately, they didn't find the person they were looking for. The story was unbelievable. How could someone as harmless as Harry be caught up in something so dangerous? It just didn't make sense. As the news of the raid spread throughout the neighborhood, a sense of shock and disbelief settled over our community. Many of us had known Harry for years and couldn't imagine him being involved in anything illegal. He was a fixture in our community, known for his love of gardening and his friendly demeanor. In the days following the raid, I couldn't help but think about how close I'd come to danger. What if I hadn't ducked for cover when I heard the gunshots? What if I'd stepped outside to get a better look? The thought sent shivers down my spine. I realized how fragile life was and how quickly everything could change. The incident left our neighborhood shaken but also brought us closer together. We started having more cookouts and block parties, celebrating the simple joys of life and the beauty of our community. It was a reminder that we should cherish every moment and appreciate the people around us. This experience taught me many lessons. It taught me to be cautious but not fearful, to trust my instincts and to appreciate the support of my community. It also gave me a new perspective on life, a reminder to embrace every moment and cherish the people in my life. Most importantly, it taught me that even in the most ordinary of places, extraordinary things can happen. Life is full of surprises and we must be ready to face whatever comes our way with courage and grace. I'm not sure if you saw my last video, but I was awoken in the middle of the night to gunshots. Turned out that the police had raided our neighbor's house. It was pretty crazy. We have a lot of questions and we're still waiting for answers. But while I was making the last video, I did get some additional footage from the body cam of one of our neighbors. So I want to show you guys that and kind of fill you in on where we're at right now. So I think most of you guys know what happened. If you don't, I'll catch you up real quick. There were multiple SWAT teams that showed up, the bomb squad, like 15 to 20 cop cars surrounding our block, which is normally a really quiet neighborhood. And it was weird because there was no sirens. They weren't trying to be quiet. It was just kind of eerie how they were just cruising through the streets with lights flashing but no sirens. You could hear them talking over the radio. The whole thing was just really, really odd. Our neighbor has been arrested and taken into custody and so has his son. As of right now, we don't really know what they've been charged with. The only thing we heard from the police officers that were there was that everything was fine and that they were securing the scene. One of the neighbors actually asked if everything was fine and the officer said, "Yeah, everything's fine. Don't worry about it." The neighbor was like, "Are you sure? Because I have kids and I'm worried about them being outside when they're playing." And the guy's like, Yeah, everything's fine. You don't need to worry about it." So that was weird. They never really told us anything. The one new piece of information that I do have is that we were talking to another neighbor who was also on the block when all of this went down. He said that he didn't see anybody come out of the house except for two guys. He said that he saw two guys come out of the garage. They both had their hands up in the air and they were kind of shuffled off to the side. I guess the one guy was the guy that lived there and the other one was his son. So that's good news, I guess. I hope that everybody's okay. I hope that everybody's safe. I hope that nobody got hurt during all of this. And another neighbor actually sent me this body cam footage. This is from somebody's front porch. It's a little bit grainy, but you can see everything that was going on from their perspective. So let's check that out. Okay, so here's the footage from the neighbor's body cam. I'm gonna leave the timestamp in the bottom right corner so you know how long it went on for. And the reason why it was so dark is because it was like 3 in the morning. So nobody had their lights on or anything. It was just really dark. And you can see there is a bunch of flashing lights. So you can see the cops. And you can see right here, this must be when they finally got him out of the house. Right there, you can see somebody walking out with his hands up. And then you can see them bring out another guy with his hands up. And then eventually you're gonna see a bunch of stuff getting brought out. A bunch of guns, lots of ammunition. I have no idea what kind of stuff they were bringing out. But they brought out quite a bit. And then eventually you're gonna see the robot come out. So this was the bomb squad robot that they had. It looks like they sent it in first before they actually entered themselves. And it stayed out there for a really long time. And then after they took whatever they needed from inside the house, they ended up leaving. So that's pretty much everything that we know so far. The only other thing is that somebody had mentioned that they heard gunshots at around the same time that the raid happened, so right around 3 a.m. And it was strange because we didn't hear any back and forth gunshots. It was just like bang, 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 bang. And then silence. But we're not really sure if those were from the raid itself or if they were from a different incident. Some people had mentioned that they thought that they might have come from the same incident, but we're not really sure. We have no idea. We're wondering if this has anything to do with the missing persons case that we had last year. If you guys remember last year, there was a girl that went missing and her name was Jelani Day. And she was last seen at this apartment complex which is right behind our neighborhood. And so that's what we're thinking, maybe this has something to do with that case. But we don't really know because that was never released to the public. Like the police never said anything about that. They didn't release a statement saying that they had found her body or that they had located her or anything like that. So we don't really know what's going on with that case. There was also another thing that happened earlier this year. I believe it was like February or January where they also did a search warrant at this house, and this was a couple months ago. And so we're wondering if that has something to do with it. Again, we don't really know. We're just trying to figure out what's going on. This is a really nice neighborhood. It's very quiet. Nothing ever happens here. And so for something like this to happen, it was definitely really shocking. And especially since we never really got an answer. We don't know what's going on. I mean, everybody's talking about it. Everybody's wondering what happened. Nobody knows. Now we're also wondering, like, do we know the guy that was arrested? Do we know anything about him? And honestly, we don't really know anything about him. We say hi to him whenever we see him. He always says hi back. He's always been nice. He's always been polite. He's never had any problems as far as we know. So we're wondering what's going on. One of the neighbors actually made a post on Facebook. She said, "Does anyone know what's going on? Why SWAT was called? Or if you know the residents, please keep them in your prayers. Here's hoping it wasn't anything too terrible." I think we've been hearing rumors that it could be drugs or human trafficking. We don't really know what's going on. We're really hoping that everybody's safe. We're really hoping that nothing horrible has happened. And we're really hoping that everything will be okay. But again, we don't really know anything. We're just waiting on answers. Just wanted to update you guys. Let you know where we're at right now. Thank you to the neighbor who gave me this footage. I appreciate you sending it over. I hope that it didn't violate any privacy laws by posting it. But I mean, if it did, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for that to happen. But that's all that we have right now. If anybody gets any more information, I'll be sure to update you guys. I'm hoping that everybody's safe and that everything will be okay. Again, if anybody has any information, please let me know. We'd love to know what's going on. Just wanted to update you guys. Thank you for watching. I never imagined that the quiet suburban street I called home would be the scene of an intense police raid, leaving me traumatized and questioning everything I thought I knew about my neighbors. It was a typical day in our neighborhood. The sun was shining, birds were tweeting, and the only sound that could possibly disrupt the peace was the occasional lawnmower. Then it happened. A sudden burst of gunfire shattered the tranquility, each shot echoing the previous one, sending shock waves through our peaceful community. And then there was silence, heavy, thick and pregnant with tension. Our street had been transformed into a crime scene. Police cars swarmed the area, their flashing lights painting the pavement in an array of red and blue hues. Yellow police tape crisscrossed the street, effectively sealing off our once peaceful neighborhood from the outside world. Whispers quickly turned to murmurs, and soon the entire community was buzzing with questions. What had transpired here? Who was involved? And why? It all started a few weeks prior when the police presence in our neighborhood increased. We noticed unmarked cars patrolling the streets, keeping a close watch on our every move. At first, we dismissed it as a random security measure, perhaps a response to the rising crime rates in nearby towns. But as days turned into weeks, our curiosity got the better of us. The constant surveillance became a source of unease, casting long shadows of worry over our daily lives. Then came the day that turned our peaceful neighborhood upside down. The morning started like any other, and by lunchtime the children were out playing, the dogs were barking, and the aroma of barbecue filled the air as families prepared for another lovely evening in the suburbs. But that's when the first officers arrived, their faces grim, their voices hushed as they went door to door. They were looking for someone, but they weren't saying who or why. All they asked was if we had seen anything suspicious, if we had any information that could help them with their investigation. We had not. So we told them what we didn't know. But soon more officers arrived, followed by an armored police vehicle and then another. Each new arrival intensifying the mystery, making the tight-knit community even more apprehensive than before. Some neighbors started to panic, wondering aloud about the nature of the manhunt. Was it a serial killer on the loose? Had a bank robbery gone wrong somewhere in the neighborhood? The questions hung in the air, unanswered, adding to the mounting fear. As dusk began to fall, the police presence escalated dramatically. We watched in stunned silence as a swarm of officers descended upon the house at the end of our street. This was no longer a routine visit. This was something different, something serious. The sight of heavily armed SWAT team members surrounding a house sent chills down our spines. Their movements were swift, their voices sharp and authoritative as they gave commands that echoed with urgency. The drama reached its peak when a man emerged from the house with his hands raised. He was shirtless, his face etched with a mixture of fear and defiance. Moments later he was on the ground, his head pressed against the pavement, hands cuffed behind his back. As the minutes ticked by, more people were led out of the house, their faces pale, their bodies shaking, clearly traumatized by the ordeal. Amidst all this chaos, fear took hold of me. My mind raced, trying to piece together the puzzle, trying to make sense of the nightmare unfolding right before my eyes. But the truth is, there are some things that are best left unknown. In those moments, all I could think about was my own safety, wondering if I should stay in my house or try to get as far away from the commotion as possible. As it turned out, my instincts were right. The next few minutes were the most terrifying of my life. Just when it seemed like the worst was over, a series of gunshots shattered the air. Each bang reverberating through my very being, sending primal fear coursing through my veins. Adrenaline surged through my body, urging me to run, to hide. But where? There was nowhere to go. I was trapped in a nightmare. I remember pressing myself against the floor, my heart pounding in my chest, matching the rhythm of the gunshots. It felt like an eternity, yet I'm sure it was only a matter of seconds. Then the shooting stopped as abruptly as it had begun. Silence descended upon the neighborhood once again, but this time it was a different kind of silence. It was heavy, thick and pregnant with tension. It was the silence of aftermath. Slowly, hesitantly, I made my way to the window. What I saw there was both shocking and surreal. An officer lay on the ground, his body still, his face pale. My heart went out to him. He was a human being, a fellow member of our community, and now he was lying lifeless on the pavement. In the ensuing moments, more officers rushed to their fallen comrade's aid. The somber atmosphere was palpable, the grim expressions on their faces a testament to the gravity of the situation. It was clear that we had just witnessed something tragic, something that would forever alter the fabric of our neighborhood. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the street, my thoughts turned to the officer who had lost his life. Who was he? What had he been doing just moments before? And most importantly, why did he have to pay the ultimate price? The following days were a blur of activity as the town grappled to come to terms with what had happened. The news media descended upon our neighborhood, their cameras flashing, their microphones thrust forward in a desperate attempt to extract every last detail from anyone who would talk. The rest of the town was no less affected. The loss of a fellow resident, a fellow officer was a tragedy that transcended our little street. In the wake of the tragedy, our community rallied together. Residents gathered at the local park, their faces etched with sadness, their eyes reflecting the shared trauma that had befallen us. There were flowers left at the spot where the officer had fallen, each blossom a silent tribute to a life cut short. As time went on, the media spotlight shifted, the focus moved away from our neighborhood and the raw wounds began to heal. But for me the trauma lingered. The incident left an indelible mark on my psyche. Every loud noise sends me into a panic. Every siren makes me freeze in fear. The simple act of opening my front door can trigger a wave of anxiety. I've become a prisoner in my own home, haunted by the echoes of gunshots that continue to reverberate within my soul. I'll never forget the fateful day when our quiet suburban street was transformed into a scene of a manhunt. The memory of the fallen officer continues to haunt me, a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of a seemingly peaceful community. The incident has left scars that will likely never fully heal. But as time passes, I've learned to navigate these scars, to find ways to cope with the lingering trauma. I've sought therapy, spoken to support groups, and slowly, very slowly, I've begun to reclaim my life. The incident has also served as a wake-up call, a harsh reminder that life is precious and unpredictable. It's a lesson that I, along with many others in our community, will carry with us for the rest of our lives. Despite the trauma, our community has come together to heal. We've organized fundraisers for the fallen officer's family, participated in marches for police reform, and most importantly, we've shared our stories, our fears, our grief, and in doing so, we've found solace in knowing that we're not alone. As I write this, I'm reminded of the strength of the human spirit, the resilience of our community. While the pain may never fully subside, the love, the support, and the unity we've found in each other have helped us take one step at a time towards healing. In the quiet moments, when the memories threaten to overwhelm me, I think of the fallen officer, not just as a victim but as a hero. He gave his life in service, a service that demanded the ultimate sacrifice. His bravery, though costly, has not been in vain. It has sparked conversations, initiated changes, and most importantly, brought a community closer together. Our neighborhood will forever be changed. The tragedy has left an indelible mark on our collective memory. But as we move forward, we do so with a renewed sense of purpose, a commitment to honor the fallen by making our community a better, safer place for everyone.